They say that blood is thicker than water. But after 78 years on this earth, I've learned that sometimes blood is just a roadmap for where to twist the knife. My name is Arthur, and I spent 40 years building a life from nothing. I worked double shifts at the mill, invested every spare cent, and denied myself the luxuries of the world so that my children, Mark and Elena, would never know the hunger I felt as a boy. I thought I was building a legacy. I thought I was buying their love, or at least their respect. But last Tuesday, during what I thought was a celebratory family dinner for my birthday, the veil finally dropped. I wasn't a father to them anymore. I was just a bank account with a heartbeat that was taking a little too long to stop. I had gone to the restroom, but as I walked back toward our private booth, I heard them. They didn't realize the restaurant's acoustics carried their voices right to the hallway. Mark was laughing, that cold, corporate laugh of his, saying how the beach house would fetch at least $2 million in this market. Elena snapped back, telling him he could unhave the house because she already promised her daughter the proceeds for a wedding in Tuscany. They were arguing over my bones while I was still standing. They had spreadsheets, they had plans, and most importantly, they had a timeline that didn't include me being around for much longer. They even joked about which deluxe nursing home would be the easiest to keep me tucked away in so they could start the liquidation process. I stood there in the shadows, my heart feeling like a piece of lead in my chest. All those years of sacrifice, all the times I missed my own life to provide for theirs, and this was the result. I wasn't a person to them. I was an obstacle. I walked back to the table, sat down, and finished my steak in silence. They smiled at me, called me Dad, and asked if I wanted dessert, all while mentally measuring my living room for new furniture. That was the night I decided that if they wanted to treat my life like a business transaction, I was going to give them a lesson in hostile takeovers. For the past 3 years, since my wife Martha passed away, my only real social interaction has been at a small, greasy spoon diner called the Daily Griddle. Every morning at 7 a.m., I sit in the same corner booth. And every morning, a waitress named Sarah brings me a black coffee and a side of dry toast without me even having to ask. Sarah's 24, working 3 jobs to put herself through nursing school and support her younger brother. She doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know I have a portfolio that could buy that diner 10 times over. To her, I'm just Artie, the grumpy old man who reads the newspaper and tips exactly $5. But Sarah did something my children haven't done in a decade. She remembered Martha's birthday. Last month, on the day that would have been our 50th anniversary, I was sitting there staring at a photo in my wallet, tears blurring my vision. Sarah didn't ask questions. She didn't tell me to cheer up or remind me that I was getting old. She just sat a slice of cherry pie, Martha's favorite, on the table and said, "This one's on me, Artie. Sometimes the silence is too loud, isn't it?" She sat with me for 5 minutes, ignoring her other tables, just so I wouldn't have to be alone in that moment. That 5 minutes of genuine human kindness was worth more than every hollow "I love you, my children" had whispered since the day they realized I was wealthy. The day after that dinner, I called my lawyer, Mr. Henderson. He's been my friend for years, and he sounded shocked when I told him what I wanted to do. "Arthur, are you sure? This will cause a war," he warned. I told him the war had already started. I was just the only one who knew the troops had moved. We spent 4 hours rewriting my will. I didn't leave Mark and Elena nothing that would make it too easy for them to contest it in court. No, I left them exactly $50,000 each. To them, it's a pittance, a drop in the bucket compared to what they expected. But the rest, the real estate, the stocks, the vintage car collection, and the liquid assets totaling over $8 million, all of it was signed over to a trust for Sarah and her brother's education, with the remainder becoming hers on her 30th birthday. I didn't tell her. I didn't want her to change. I wanted to spend my remaining time, however much that is, watching her succeed because of her own hard work, knowing that one day her life would change forever because she chose to be kind to a stranger. Fast forward to last night. I called a family meeting. I told the kids I wanted to discuss the future of the estate. You should have seen their faces. They practically tripped over themselves to get to my house, bringing expensive wine and acting like the devoted children they never were. Mark even started talking about legacy planning and how we should simplify my holdings. I let them talk for 20 minutes. I let them get their hopes up, watching the greed dance in their eyes like a flickering flame. Then I pulled out the new document. I heard you at the restaurant, I said, my voice as calm as a frozen lake. The color drained from Elena's face instantly. Mark tried to stutter an excuse, talking about venting stress, but I held up my hand. You've already divided my world, so I decided to simplify it for you. You both get 50,000. That's enough for a nice car or a down payment on a house you can actually afford on your own. The rest is going to someone who knows the value of a person, not just a price tag. The explosion was immediate. Tay screamed. They threatened to sue. They called me senile and crazy. Elena actually had the nerve to cry, saying I was betraying the family. I just looked at her and asked, what family? Elena, the one that was planning my funeral over appetizers. I told them they were lucky I was giving them anything at all. I reminded them that I earned every cent of that money, and as long as I am breathing, it is mine to do with as I please. They left my house in a rage, promising that I would never see my grandchildren again. It hurt, I won't lie, but then I realized they were already keeping the grandkids away unless they wanted something. The threat was empty because the relationship was already hollow. This morning, I went back to the diner. Sarah was there, as usual, smiling through her exhaustion. She brought my coffee and asked how my birthday dinner went. I looked at her, this young woman who has nothing but gives everything, and I felt a peace I haven't felt in years. It was the most enlightening dinner of my life. Sarah, I told her. She left, tucked a stray hair behind her ear, and went back to work, oblivious to the fact that she was now an heiress. My children think they've lost everything, but they've actually gained the only thing I have left to give them, a chance to grow up and earn their own way. As for me, I'm going to spend my days at this diner, watching the sunset of my life, and knowing that my legacy isn't sitting in a bank account waiting to be squandered by greed. It is sitting in the hands of someone who understands that the most important things in life aren't the things we leave behind, but the way we treat people while we re-steal it. They say you can't take it with you, and that's true. But you sure as hell can make sure it goes to the right place. And if that means spilling a little bit of truth at the dinner table to clear the air, then so be Italiano. To everyone watching this, remember, your parents aren't just a bridge to your inheritance. They are people with ears, hearts, and the power to change the ending of the story. Don't wait until the bill comes to show your gratitude. By then, the table might already be cleared.